We stood right in front of the elevator. Delisa and I and 18 other people from my office. These are all big shots. The head of human resources, the general manager, all these big shots, they're standing up right there. Not a word is said. The elevator door was open. We got in. As I'm getting out of the door, the security guard looks at me and says, where are you going? I said, I'm going home. I saw fireballs falling from the other building. He said, your building is safe, it's secure. Go back to your office. You can hear the whoop whoop signals. Your building is safe, it's secure. Go back to your office. Nobody else is coming out. Delise stepped out and she said, Stan, I'm scared. I want to go home. I said, well, go, take the rest of the day off. I had that choice to go back in that elevator at that point or go home, so I don't know what to do. The doors are about to close and Jack Andriacchio is holding on to one end and Manny Gomez is holding on to the other end. Come on, Stan the man. You're not scared to go back up. Come on, Stan, we don't have all day here. And I walked back in that elevator. And all I was doing was being faithful to authority. They said, go back. All right, so we go back. The door closes, and I can still remember the look of the faces of everybody in that elevator. Because I was the last one who stepped in, and everybody's looking at me like, why did you take so long? We were waiting on you. Not realizing I would never see them again.
We saw a lot of things that day that no one should see. To this day, I still have my times when I can't take it anymore, and I still think about it. There were times when I would go over the Brooklyn Bridge going into work, and it just got me so bad that I couldn't take it anymore. And as I was driving over the bridge, I actually felt myself almost trying to jerk the wheel off to the side to just drive off the edge of the bridge just so I didn't have to deal with it anymore. And every time I did that, I was like, you can't do this, you just keep going, you can do this. I worked as an emergency medical technician. I was young, 21-year-old kid, and we were driving down to the Trade Center to help people. As we pull up, You see hundreds of people just running out to us. And you're just looking through, and you don't know where to go because there's just so much chaos going on. And I remember as I was grabbing my equipment to go see what we were going to do, some people kept on running up to me and like, you got to help my friend. You got to help my friend. I'm like, okay. I'm like, calm down. I'm like, where is your friend? What happened? They jumped. I'm like, from where? From the 30th floor, from up there. I'm like, they're dead. The bridge is that way. Just run. And I remember we just grabbed the first 4 or 5 people that we saw that had blood on them, and we run them to the back of our ambulance. The rules almost went out the window that day. You did what you could for who you could.
Hey, can you look out your window right now? Can you see God about 4,000 feet, about 5 east of the airport right now?
Yeah, I see him.
Is he descending for the building also?
He's descending really quick too, yeah. 2,500 feet now. He just dropped 800 feet in like one sweep.
That's another situation.
I'm on the 81st floor in the South Tower in a huge glass enclosed office. The phone is ringing. I pick up the phone. It's a young lady from Chicago on the other end. Stan, get out. Why do I have to get out? With the phone in my hand, I'm standing up, not looking in any particular direction, but something caught my attention looking towards the direction of the Statue of Liberty, south. What I saw was a tiny little speck force of a plane, and within the split second, it's getting larger and larger and larger. Oh my God, it's coming towards me. It's coming for me. I love light contact. And as I'm watching, within split seconds, I can see this plane start tilting. Very gradually. And I'm watching this plane like being hypnotized, can't move my eyes away, and I can hear this revving sound this engine is making. Like when the plane takes off, that sound that it's making will multiply that by 1,000, and this plane is coming towards me. And my mind is reacting so fast, and I don't know what to do. And the next thing I remember saying, and I don't know why I said this, Lord, I can't do this, you take over. Dropped the phone, scream, dove under the desk.
A 727 just ran into the building. Where do I go? Do I go home?
The U.S. airway jet slammed into it. I saw the thing there.
But that do it blood?
Hello, Gerald. Yo, I'm gonna get out of the city, yo. I ain't staying here.
Look at the second building.
When the plane hit, I got blown out of my shoes and I hit the marble wall in front of me with my upper body. And then my strong will or my abstinence kicked in. I'm like, oh, no way. I am not orphaning my kids in this building. I am getting out of here. We got into the stairwells and we stumbled across this gentleman who had artificial legs, and he sat down and said, I can't go anymore. That 2 men just said, no way, not on our watch, and they picked him up and they just started carrying him down. I encountered a woman on the stairwell who was having an asthma attack, and in my pocketbook, I had an inhaler. And I handed it to her. I said, here, just use it. And she was using it, and she said, oh my God, I can breathe. And she started down. So you just did, everybody was just doing what they needed to do to help. It was a constant, very quick flow, but people were kind to each other.
We were like right in the path of all the debris from the second plane and from the building. And it was just shot right towards our ambulance. All the patients, they were all huddled on the floor, all crunched together with their hands over their heads. And we were just kind of on top of them. We were scared in there. I mean, at least I know I can't speak for anybody else, but I can speak for myself. I was terrified. I looked at my partner and I said, you know, we need to get out of here. When we pulled out of there, I hear him scream through the front, I'm getting flagged, I'm being flagged. So I open up the back doors and I'm like, what's going on? He's like, this guy jumped in front of the ambulance. He said, we need to help this lady. So I'm like, all right, so we jump out and we see this one lady. She was lying half on the street, half on the sidewalk. Orlando and I were able to just move her over to the side a little bit, and we saw that her whole backside looked like it was just torn off from her shoulder blades all the way down to like the top of her thigh. It looked like everything was just ripped right off. We didn't know it at the time, but we found out later on that she was hit by the landing gear of the second plane, and it went right down and ripped off half her back. As we're driving, she was screaming out in agony. I remember seeing the 3 or 4 other patients in the ambulance, you know, and you can see them that they're scared. They're all crying, they're all looking around like, and they're looking at me. And here I am, 21-year-old kid.
So I had to avoid that little panicky thing that you go through at first. I was climbing the stairs in the North Tower, and our orders were to report to the 23rd floor. So I'm looking around the floor, I'm looking for this chief I'm supposed to report to. And I hear chatter. I hear people talking. And of course, I'm curious, nobody's supposed to be there. And I open the doorway, and there's 2 people inside the stairway. It was an injured secretary, a woman, and her boss stayed with her. This is an incredibly heroic guy. I wish I could remember his name. But he stayed and trying to get his injured secretary out of the building. And they were in stairway C. No, they were alone. There was nobody else in stairway C, and I was worried about them. So I told them, go to stairway B. The fire department's in stairway B. They will help you. And they were frozen. They couldn't move. They just froze. And then I yelled at them. I feel bad, but I yelled at them. I just, get you know, that's stairway B. I'm not gonna tell you again, you know, like that. But I had to do it, you know, because I had to startle them to get them out of that. They were in like a funk, you know. I mean, it was so. And finally, they listened to me. They went over to stairway B. So, and they survived. They got out. So that was good.
To help anybody, you got to start triaging. You try to determine the injury at a second moment so that the unit coming behind you can immediately treat that person. green tag for minor injuries. You can understand everything. Then you have the red tag for immediate. And then when we get to the deceased, that means no care needed. At this time, this person is presumed dead. I was underneath the towers, going from area to area. I did not see any living person on the ground. Everybody was deceased. So going past, you just ripped the tags off and left deceased, until I ran into that one person. I put deceased, which is a black tag. And she says, I'm not dead. Call my daughter. But she didn't know what I knew, and she didn't see what I seen. Her head did not hit the ground, or I couldn't see that the head was, because the hair was still intact. She looked like an office personnel. She looked like maybe a woman that was on the plane. And her makeup. But what I saw below the torso was complete, crushed, disfigured, mint. This lady must have came down feet first. You can't take, stop, I'm not dead. I could have done something immediately to help her, but I was panicking myself. I was dealing with death myself. Even though I did not fear death, or I wasn't thinking about death, but I saw death, and I saw death, and I saw death, and I told her she would not survive another couple of minutes. So I lied. I said, "You okay? This is preliminary. This is just..." I meant to react. I tore the wrong thing off. Relax. They're coming. Don't worry about what I just did. I had to go conscious about what I was saying, and that I was lying, but I wasn't lying in the fact of her condition. I was lying in the fact that I did think she was dead. And that black tag stayed with me. It took me 3 years to push it back, or from this cortex part of my brain to the frontal part of my brain, a memory, or put it somewhere with the psychiatrist and the clinician that helped me move her around so that she's not in the mind's eye in the daytime, or in the nighttime, or at any time. The human body or the human mind is not positioned, or the brain can never be positioned to deal with tragedy of another human being. It just reminds you that could be your mother, this is your father, this is your family, this is a human being. You don't lie to the dying.
I came out on the 44th floor because that's where our stairwell ends. And there was panic and bedlam, and it was pitch black. And then, all of a sudden, in this darkness is this voice. He was singing, and I think the singing distracted everybody that they stopped in their tracks to see why he was singing or where he was singing from, and it calmed everybody down. And then he said these words. He said, "Today is a proud day to be an American." It was Rick Riscola, our head of security. Rick was so concerned for many years about the security and safety of everybody in the World Trade Center. It had been attacked before, and he was certain it would happen again. He did predict that they would come, if they came again, that they would come from the air. And it's very hard to protect people when they come from the air. So the only protection would be to teach them how to get out in case a catastrophe happened. Rick had them redo the stairwells, repaint them, make sure there was lighting so everybody could see where we were going. And 4 times a year, we walked from 70 all the way down to the sky lobby to get out of the building. You know, at first people would just assume this is over the top, it was exaggerated, it was, do we really need to do this? I mean, in my mind, my favorite line was, lightning never strikes the same place twice. So after 93, I didn't even think about it because I was like, no one's ever going to attack the same building again. That day, things were on fire. You know, things are blowing up, and he really was able to refocus everybody pretty quickly and disperse the crowds to the proper stairwells to get them out of there. So seeing Rick was probably like seeing your guardian angel when I saw him on 44. I wasn't nervous at that point. I really wasn't.
Look at his big camera. Look at his big camera.
Be able to tell your grandchildren.
You were there.
You were there.
I wasn't emotional on that day. I was not frozen in fear. I wasn't thinking horrible thoughts. My mind, thankfully, protected me from absorbing any carnage. Now, my mind blocked anything that might have been really ugly out there. I don't remember, other than this grayness. Others died and I didn't. I wasn't having any of that in my mind yet. Again, I cannot explain why. I keep wondering, am I cold-hearted? I don't think so. I think I'm tender and compassionate when I need to be. Odd.
I was stuck in the 81st floor. I crawled the entire length of the loans department to the lounge, in the computer room, in the communication room. And that's the farthest I could have gone, because one lousy sheetrock wall stood firm. Just one wall. That period of waiting was the most painful thing you would ever imagine. That period of just waiting, hoping that somebody is going to come to get you. And I'm crying out to this invisible God that I've hurt so much.
From the 84th floor, I led a group of people down the stairs, and we arrived on the 81st floor, me in the lead. As I arrived there, a heavy-set woman came up and stopped me. We've just come off a floor in flames and smoke, and we've got to go higher. And of course, I'm stopped now and can't get past her, and bump, bump, bump in behind me comes the rest of my team, if you like. So now there's this group of us, 9, 10 people on the 81st floor landing, who are now beginning the debate, listening to her and starting to discuss, well, do we go up? Do we go down? What do we do now?
I'm behind of a wall, and I'm crying out, wait for me, don't leave me to die.
What I heard was something like, help, help, I'm buried, is anyone there? I can't breathe. Kind of again sobered up and said, okay, I've got a job to do here, and my flashlight back on again. And as I squeezed onto that floor sideways, I have this very, very clear memory of everybody on that landing turning around and starting to go up the stairs. So I started toward the stranger's voice.
I can only hear that voice faintly. I had my hand through that hole, and I'm trying, please, please, my hand is here, turn to your left. As I hear a little bit, his voice is walking away, his voice is moving away from me. No, 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 come back, towards your right. Come back, towards your left. Come straight, straight, straight now. As I can hear his voice closer, closer, sharper. Look down, look down, look down. Here I am, with my hand, waving towards him. When that light flashed in my hand, all hope was there. Somebody, this person with his flashlight, whoever it is, somebody's gonna rescue me. I'm gonna live. It was that hope. That feeling of knowing that, you know what, I'm gonna live. That feeling of knowing that you're gonna live, that somebody is here to take you home. I'm gonna get to see my children again. I'm gonna be reconciled with my wife again. I'm gonna live. They left me here to die, but I'm gonna go home. And this man really did that. Rescued me so I could go home.
Hallelujah, I've been saved, he said. One thing I gotta know, do you know Jesus Christ? That was a very strange thing to hear at that time, and I wasn't ready for a philosophical discussion, so I stammered out a rather pathetic reply. I go to church every Sunday. That was the best I could do to that question. And come on, we got work to do here. So there was a lot of debris to the right, a debris to the left of me, and this immovable wall between us. And I told him that the only way out of there is for you to come up this wall. So he tried once, and I missed him. I said, you must do this. And over the wall he came, and then his weight on me pushed the desk over. We fell back onto a pile of debris, and he gave me a big kiss.
And he got up and he says, well, what are you doing? He fixed his jacket and his tie. And he stretched his hand, he says, Brian Clark. I said, Stanley Primnan.
He said, I'm Stanley. He said, we'll be brothers for life. And I said, well, I have no siblings. I said, we can be brothers. And then I noticed I had a puncture wound on my right palm. And Stanley also had a puncture wound on his palm. And I'm the one who did it. I put our hands together and said, we'll be blood brothers for life. And we made our way off the floor back to the 81st floor landing. I shone the light down, and I took that. I didn't see flames. I saw some smoke coming up. And I gratefully took that fateful first step down, and we continued on down.
This is coming down. I'm not going to die here on the street. I just got out of that building. I have to get out of here.
You gotta go. You gotta step Stu, you gotta stay behind. Please keep moving, please, sir. Please keep moving.
Some of the people we work with encountered Rick on one of the lower floors as they were leaving the building. Rick was heading up the stairs. And they said, Rick, come with us. And he's like, no, I have to do one more sweep to make sure all our people are safe. He could have gotten out, but he chose to go back up. Well, I knew that Rick was doing what Rick was destined to do, and that was get everybody out of that building. And knowing Rick, you knew he wasn't leaving until that last person was out.
The ash filled the air and blocked the sun. And very strangely, as we went down Broadway, and it wasn't densely populated, all of a sudden Stanley was gone. I'm looking around, wondering where he is, and this feeling washed over me like, whoa, did I just imagine this? Was Stanley some sort of a guardian angel? Like, I had real confused doubts about what had just transpired. I learned later from Stanley that he had commandeered a guy in a pickup truck and told him, you drive me to Brooklyn. Apparently the guy did.
Brian said to me later on, had he made the choice to go back up like the others, he would have died. But there was something in that scream that held him to help me. So every time I tell this man, Brian, thank you for saving my life, he says, no, Stan, thank you. That had you not screamed, I would have gone back up, I would have died.
Being as young as I was at the time, that day definitely changed me. You know, there are things that I live with to this day that still haunt my dreams from it. You know, when I start thinking about on how bad it could be, I keep thinking of that patient that we picked up. The woman on the stretcher, we didn't think that she was going to make it through at all, but we found out a couple weeks later that she was still alive.
This is Mag from Magnificent. I got him last night from a friend of my fiance's. He is so much fun. Normally there's only white blankets here, and then I got Mag last night too, that it made me realize that color has been absent in my environment, and it showed up when it really needed to be there. So.
And I found out later on her name was Debbie. And I remember going to the hospital to go see her. And they brought us over to her room, and she was still intubated at the time, but she was sitting up and conscious, and she's looking at us, and you see her moving her hand, and she's like, it's them, it's them. And she was pointing to us. And all the people that we walked by in the waiting room was her parents, her fiance, and the rest of her family. They came over to us, and they were just hugging us. You know, it was very emotional for Orlando and I.
And Frank Ruma was the guy who drove the EMT truck that allowed me to get on it.
The few times that I was able to see her in the hospital, she was always upbeat. She's like, don't worry, I'm gonna get better. And throughout my time, she has been an inspiration for me to get me out of my dark places, knowing the fact that I gave someone back their family. I helped bring that person back home.
our orders were to go upstairs in the North Tower for search and rescue. And we heard a loud noise outside, and I see Billy Burke walking towards me. He's got a funny look on his face. And I look at him and I says, "Is that what I thought it was?" Thinking that a piece of our building fell off. And he just looks at me and he says, "The South Tower's just collapsed." Knowing what that meant, that right next door to us, thousands of people were just killed. Some of our friends, too. And I did the quick calculations in my mind, and I says, all right, if that one can go, this one can go, it's time for us to get out of here. And my guys didn't react, they balked. They didn't want to leave. And I said, let's go, it's time to go. So we start our retreat down the B stairway of the North Tower. And I just be whispering it to Billy Butler's ear. I says, "Billy, can you move a little faster?" And the collapse of the North Tower starts with us still inside.